The future of professional golf is being decided in meetings most fans will never see, behind tournament ropes, away from television cameras, and far from the excitement of Sunday afternoon finishes. Some of the biggest decisions in the history of the sport are being discussed. The names involved could not be bigger. Brian Rolapp, the executive tasked with helping guide the PGA Tour into a new era, and Jack Nicklaus, the legendary champion whose voice still carries enormous influence decades after his final competitive round. For years, Jack Nicklaus has represented something much bigger than victories and trophies. He represents the foundation of modern golf, the traditions, the history, the values that shaped the sport long before billion-dollar television deals and global sports investments became part of the conversation. So when professional golf began entering one of the most uncertain periods in its history, many fans naturally looked toward one person for perspective. What does the Golden Bear think about where golf is heading? Because golf is no longer facing the same challenges it faced during Nicklaus' playing days. The modern game has become a global business. Media rights have become more valuable. Players have gained more influence. New tours and new investment models have changed the competitive landscape. The PGA Tour is no longer simply managing tournaments. It is managing an entire sports ecosystem with billions of dollars and the future identity of professional golf at stake. That is why Brian Rolapp's arrival represents such a significant moment. His background is not built around winning championships or designing golf courses. It comes from the world of sports media, business strategy, and audience growth. His experience involves understanding how modern fans consume sports and how organizations compete in an entertainment industry that changes every year. For some, that experience is exactly what the PGA Tour needs. They believe professional golf must evolve if it wants to attract younger audiences and remain competitive in a crowded sports market. For others, there is concern that too much focus on business could move the sport away from the traditions that made it special in the first place. And that is where Jack Nicklaus' perspective becomes so important. The Golden Bear has always been connected to golf's history. His 18 major championships remain one of the greatest achievements in sports. His rivalry with other legends helped define an era. His influence continued long after retirement through course design, charitable work, and his role as one of golf's most respected ambassadors. Unlike many former athletes who disappear after their playing careers end, Nicklaus remained deeply connected to the direction of the sport. When he speaks about golf, people listen because he represents generations of experience. He understands where the game came from, but he also understands that every sport must adapt to survive. That balance has become one of golf's biggest challenges. The sport is currently caught between two worlds. One world values tradition. It values major championships, historic venues, legendary rivalries, and the connection between generations of players. It believes golf's uniqueness comes from protecting the elements that have made the sport special for more than a century. The other world focuses on growth. It focuses on expanding audiences, creating more entertainment value, increasing global reach, and competing for attention in a world where fans have endless choices. Neither side is completely wrong. The problem is finding a way for both sides to exist together. That challenge became even more complicated after the emergence of LIV Golf. The arrival of a competing tour changed professional golf forever. Players were offered unprecedented financial opportunities. The PGA Tour responded with changes of its own. Schedules evolved. Prize money increased. The entire structure of the sport began shifting faster than many expected. For fans, the situation became confusing. They watched their favorite players choose different paths. They saw long-time friendships tested. They heard promises about the future of golf, but often received more questions than answers. The debate was no longer just about tournaments. It became a debate about what professional golf should become. And in the middle of that conversation stood figures like Jack Nicklaus. Throughout his public comments over the years, Nicklaus has emphasized the importance of respecting golf's foundation while allowing the game to grow. He has often spoken about protecting the traditions that separate golf from other sports. But he has also recognized that change is unavoidable. The game he played decades ago is not the same game played today. Equipment has changed. Training has changed. Athletes have changed. The business surrounding golf has changed completely. The challenge has never been stopping change. The challenge has always been deciding which changes strengthen the game and which changes weaken its identity. That question now sits directly in front of Brian Rolapp. The PGA Tour needs someone who understands modern sports economics, someone who can navigate media partnerships, international opportunities, sponsorship demands, and the changing expectations of fans. But at the same time, leadership must understand that golf is not simply another entertainment product. There is emotion attached to the sport. There is history attached to the sport. There are moments that have been passed down from grandparents to grandchildren. That emotional connection is something numbers and business strategies cannot fully measure. This is why the relationship between golf's past and golf's future has become such a fascinating storyline. Jack Nicklaus represents everything that built the sport. Brian Rolapp represents the type of leadership needed to navigate the modern sports world. The question is whether those two visions can work together. Because the biggest challenge facing professional golf is not simply increasing revenue or attracting viewers. It is answering a much deeper question. What should golf look like in the next generation? Should it become more like other major sports, with bigger entertainment packages and new business models? Or should it protect the traditions that make golf unlike anything else? The answer will shape the future of the PGA Tour. And while executives discuss strategy and players focus on competition, one thing has become clear. The decisions made during this era will be remembered long after today's headlines disappear. But the most important question remains unanswered. Can the people leading golf's future respect the game that created them while building something new for the generations that come next? Because if Jack Nicklaus represents where golf came from, Brian Rolapp represents where golf may be going. And the space between those two worlds is where the biggest battle for professional golf's future will be decided. The biggest challenge facing professional golf has never been about whether change would happen. Change was inevitable. The real question was whether golf could evolve without losing the identity that made it special in the first place. And that is where the tension between tradition and innovation becomes impossible to ignore. For decades, golf built its reputation on history. The major championships, the legendary rivalries, the iconic courses where generations of champions created unforgettable moments. Players didn't simply compete for money. They competed for their place in the story of the game. That emotional connection is something Jack Nicklaus understands better than almost anyone alive. But modern sports operate differently. Today, success is measured not only by trophies but also by television audiences, digital engagement, international growth, and commercial partnerships. The biggest leagues in the world are constantly searching for new ways to attract younger fans. Golf is no different. The sport must compete with countless entertainment options that did not exist during Nicklaus' playing era. That reality creates one of the biggest challenges for Brian Rolapp. His mission is not simply managing tournaments. It is helping the PGA Tour remain relevant in a rapidly changing sports environment. The decisions made today could influence how future generations experience professional golf. Every change to schedules, media strategies, player relationships, and competition formats carries consequences far beyond one season. And that is why players are watching closely. Professional golfers understand that leadership decisions directly affect their careers. They want financial security, but they also want stability. They want bigger opportunities. But they also want the sport to maintain its competitive integrity. After the disruption caused by LIV Golf, uncertainty became one of the biggest concerns among players and fans. The arrival of new leadership created hope that a clearer direction could finally emerge. But hope alone is not enough. The PGA Tour must prove that it can bring different groups together. Players, sponsors, broadcasters, tournaments, and fans all have different priorities. Finding a solution that satisfies everyone may be impossible, but finding a solution that protects the long-term future of the sport is the responsibility of those leading it. This is where Jack Nicklaus' influence becomes especially interesting. Unlike executives who focus primarily on business performance, Nicklaus represents the emotional side of golf. He represents why people fell in love with the sport before massive television contracts existed. He represents the idea that golf is not only entertainment. It is also tradition, discipline, respect, and history. Those values remain important. But history has also shown that refusing to adapt can be dangerous. Every generation of golf has experienced change. Equipment evolved. Training methods improved. Athletes became stronger and more prepared. Technology transformed how fans watch tournaments. What once seemed controversial eventually became normal. The challenge has always been determining which changes improve the sport and which changes damage its foundation. The LIV golf situation demonstrated just how complicated that balance can be. When players accepted offers from LIV, it created one of the largest divisions in professional golf history. Some believed the new opportunity represented progress. Others believed it threatened the structure that had supported the sport for generations. The debate became emotional because both sides believed they were protecting golf's future. Years later, the consequences of that division are still being felt. Fans continue asking whether professional golf can eventually find a unified path forward. Players continue wondering what the competitive landscape will look like in the future. Sponsors and broadcasters continue evaluating where they should invest their resources. All of those questions eventually lead back to leadership, because at its core, this is a leadership challenge. Can the PGA Tour embrace modern business strategies while protecting the traditions that separate golf from every other sport? Can it create new fans without losing the fans who supported the game for decades? Can it grow globally while preserving the importance of the courses and championships that built its reputation? Those are the questions Brian Rolapp must help answer. And those answers will determine how this era of golf is remembered. For Jack Nicklaus, the ultimate goal has always appeared simple. Make sure the game remains stronger for the next generation than it was for the previous one. That does not mean rejecting change. It means making sure change serves the sport rather than replacing what makes it unique. That philosophy may be more important now than ever, because professional golf is standing at a crossroads. One direction leads toward a more modern sports model, more global events, more entertainment-focused strategies, more emphasis on reaching new audiences. The other direction protects the traditions that have defined golf for generations. The challenge is finding a road that combines both. Perhaps the future of golf does not require choosing between the past and the future. Perhaps the answer is finding a way where both can exist together. A sport that respects its history while embracing new opportunities. A game that honors legends like Jack Nicklaus while creating new stars for future generations. That may ultimately be the biggest test for the current leadership of the PGA Tour. Because winning in professional golf is no longer only about what happens on Sunday afternoon. The biggest competition is happening behind the scenes. It is a competition for attention, trust, investment, and the hearts of future fans. And whoever successfully navigates that challenge will shape golf for decades. Jack Nicklaus built part of that foundation. Brian Rolapp now faces the responsibility of building what comes next. The question is whether these two worlds, golf's historic past and its uncertain future, can finally move in the same direction. Because the decisions being made today will not simply affect one tournament, one player, or one season. They will define what professional golf becomes for the next generation. So now we want to hear from you. Do you believe the PGA Tour should focus more on protecting golf traditions? Or does the sport need a major transformation to compete in the modern world? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoy deep documentary-style stories about the biggest moments shaping professional golf, subscribe for more breakdowns of the decisions, players, and controversies changing the game forever.